Good evening and Hare Krishna to all the wonderful Vaishnavas of Bloomington and neighboring areas who have come today. It took a lot of time unnecessarily and from my valuable talk I wanted to give. But thank you for the kind words of encouragement and kindness. We will now chant our prayers of invocation and then begin with the discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातां सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा always envisioned Iscon not just as a religious society when we have temples and deity worships, but as a university. That vision was given to Swadhamdar Goswami, one of Prabhupada's scientist disciples. So he always saw that Iscon was actually in a situation whereby it would train a quality of people who would be so exemplary in their lives, in whatever ashrams they were, whatever roles they played in society, but to that level of excellence whereby Iskcon and its followers would be the beacon lights for the world. Sri Prabhupada had very high expectations from practitioners like you and me, and he wanted to stabilize us in what we call as daily Varnashram, where we integrate the beautiful teachings of Lord Chaitanya and the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam into our respective fields of ashram. Today we will specifically talk about Grihastha Ashram because we don't family people here. But how to braid it, like these women have this, nowadays people keep their hair loose, but traditionally the women keep their hair braided, right? So they have two chotis together. So you have Krishna consciousness is like one choti, and then you have the Grihastha life. How to integrate is often a challenge. Krishna consciousness itself is a challenge in the age of Kali Yuga, chanting 60 rounds, following the principles. Nonetheless, we need to understand that Grihastha life, when you say the word Grihastha Ashram, so I was trying to use the word Ashram, it's a very sanctified word, and we should not just let it pass as, oh, I am in Grihastha Ashram. It only becomes as a qualification. Just because I have a home to stay, and maybe I can almost say that just because I have a home and maybe I have ladies in the house, that itself does not mean that now I am in Grihastha Ashram. But the culture of the behavior, the thought process, and the attitudes of the members who are in the family, it is that what makes into actually a divine ashram. That means the culture of Krishna consciousness is right in the center of the activity which is there in the house. That means we are very conscious the way we speak, the way we behave, the way we conduct our lives, the relation between the members involved, the husband, the wife, the children, the in-laws, and whoever else is there in the house. We are very conscious that that should be commensurate with the beautiful and lofty teachings of Krishna consciousness. That means I don't see Krishna consciousness as separate and my family life as either or either. And there is no integration. And that is something which sometimes seems to happen in our society, where we are very adept in doing our sadhana to achieve our sadhya. But as I was trying to draw the point, that there are three things which are there, and I was making this diagram to make it easy to understand. So what is the relevance of this training program we have today? Krishna consciousness should be seen as a tripod stand or a triangle, and each, unless received proper emphasis, would lead to an imbalanced. We have a tripod stand which is holding this camera, right? It cannot shoot anything practically if the stand is shaky, or if the chair is sitting, if the stand is shaky, right? So you have the sadhana, which is the means to achieve the goal, right? And then you have the sadhya, which is to reach the goal of re-entrance into the kingdom of God. And Krishna is so kind, but in order to go back to this large family, we must remember that the spiritual world is not just a homogeneous light, as would probably be understood by the other religious groups. But Vaishnavism understands and explains that the spiritual world is full of divinely purified entities with Krishna in the center. It's just a large family. Vrindavan Dham, this is the explanation given by Vishaka Mataji, the chief pujari of Mayapur Dham. So the spiritual world is a large family. So we cannot, even if you are a brahmachari or a sannyasi, ultimately you are a family man, because even when you go there, you will be part of a large spiritual family. But in order to go back to that large family, we have to some rehearsal of a good family life in the material world. Unless we learn the dynamics of living together in harmony in this small family of 4 or 5 or 6, we cannot really expect to go back to the large family of original family, Krishna family. So then you have to have the sadhana. Right? So the Grihastha Ashram is our sadhana, is our vehicle. The word vivaha, right? This is a Sanskrit word, and most of us who are Hindi speaking understand this vivaha also. Okay, इसका विवाह हो चुका है, इसका विवाह होने वाला है, विवाह की पत्रिका छापनी है. So vivaha is a common word, right? So vivaha is like this: Vishesh Vahan, Vishesha Vahan. So in a Sanskrit terminology is given such a way that this is a Vahan, this is a vehicle. Just so like all of you have your cars, right? You have 2 cars, 1 car, 5 cars, depending on your need in your family, right? So all of you spend some time in taking care of your cars, do you? Right? Or just let the car just, it's a lot of time, energy, money spent taking care of the car. Right? So just like that, we need to spend some time and energy into taking care of the dynamics of what's happening in the family situation. Right? So we have in our understanding that we have 4 ashrams: Brahmacharya Ashram, Grihastha Ashram, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that it is not a question of what is the best ashram. Somebody knows it's the best ashram. But in terms of best ashram, the parameter, if you put a parameter of renunciation, then the highest ashram of course is Iscon, because they exhibit and by their own behavior the highest levels of renunciation from all that material designations, material life, material pleasures, and fully devoted to the field of serving the Lord and the community at large. Right? So that's from the parameter of renunciation, it is the highest. But from the parameter of opportunities for perfection in life, opportunity, like all is for opportunity. In terms of opportunities to go back to the kingdom of God, they all are considered as equal. And in fact, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, who's on the altar, the third Acharya from the beginning, right? He said that the safest ashram is the Grihastha Ashram. So it may not be a very fast train back to Godhead, but it's slower, it's steady, moves on, right? So we'll be taking today various topics, but this was the introduction to what this whole training program is all about. And it is the Iscon initiative where it is felt now that with increasing challenges of modernization, with the man working, the woman working, and the society outside going down like this, there is a serious need. What has happened is that there has been a serious decline in the culture of family life over the years. All of you will agree, right? What values were held dear by our grandparents, for example, in the type of culture they had, right? The current generation just seems to not get that straight. So there is increasing breakage of relationships. The divorce rate is increasing all over the world, right? It used to be 2/3 of every marriage, 2/3 of marriages were breaking down in the first 3 years. So we are at a very serious social dilemma right now, and fortunately, even our Iscon society is not, I would say, the best example to society at large still. Given all the philosophy we have at our command, all the literature which we have, yet our Iscon society falls short of what potentially it means to do, to be an example of happy family life. Because ultimately you marry for what? What do you marry for? Why do you marry? To be happy. Agree with that, right? Yes, we all married to become happy, right? But the decline is such that now we are being taught to lead God-centered lives. God-centered lives. Now what Prabhupada has done is very special. Please try to understand this concept. Now when we are trying to have a Krishna-centered life, God-centered life, right? So what Prabhupada has done is that he has brought the Vedic culture, the culture in the family life which is most conducive. There can be various cultures which are prevalent all over the world, but which culture is most conducive to spiritual growth? That culture is the Vedic culture. Is it? Is it not? Everyone understands. All of us who are Indians here understand this, that the Vedic culture was brought from the spiritual world to the material world. It's like a reflection of the same culture which exists in the spiritual world. That culture was sort of reflected like a mirror image in the material world. Right? So that was what was established by great kings of the past, the Rajarshis of the past. They established Vedic culture very powerfully. But as things went down, the kings were no longer there, Rajarshis went away, and politics degenerated. So there was no cultural preservation. The culture actually was preserved, was severely lost. So what Prabhupada has done is so unique that a lost culture which was lost for thousands of years, Prabhupada has again brought a same culture back into the world. Something unimaginable. To make a cultural revolution in this world, right? To bring back the essential principles of human behavior, kindness, forgiveness, tolerance, love. These fine qualities which Vedic culture promotes so strongly. And he brought it back in the realm of Krishna conscious society. Right? So for example, when you go to a temple, like we are in a temple right now, correct? This is a temple. Why is it a temple? Because the Lord resides here. There are so many shaligrams of Vishnu lying on the altar, which Prabhu has brought. I don't know, but they have many very divine forms and lordships, various forms of Vishnu are there. Of course, we can see Radha Krishna, we can see Gaur. So when you go to a temple, what culture do we experience? What is the culture of a temple? Everyone is fighting here, boxing each other.
The culture in temple is that it's God-centered and everybody comes together to serve the Lord.
You find togetherness.
Yeah.
What else? What is the spirit? What is the spirit of the temple?
To serve.
Yeah, everyone is wanting here to serve.
Same purpose.
Is it right? You know, doctors can't write for nuts. As I said, one friend of mine, Vishaka Mataji, Prabhuji's close friend, who is a doctor with excellent handwriting. Often I ask you a prescription, so what did I write last time for this prescription?
Papa's handwriting is really bad too.
So I give it to my wife, she's like an artist, she writes nicely. So the culture is to serve. Yes, what else is there in temple? What do we experience? Not just this temple, but so many temples.
Peace of mind.
We experience peace. Wow. Peace of mind. What else do we experience in the temple?
Humbleness.
Humility. Every member there is humble. Because they know that here is the master, the Lord. So in front of him everyone is, if the king would come or if the guy would come, anybody, however big in the outside world, you come and you bow down. Because he is the great, he is the Lord. Humility. What else do we find?
Enthusiasm seeing others.
Sorry?
Enthusiasm seeing others enthusiastic.
Enthusiasm to see others.
Dancing, kirtan.
Yeah. So everyone is enthusiastic. Happy and enthusiastic.
I feel secure.
You feel secure in the Lord's temple. Why do you feel secure in the Lord's temple? Why? What makes you feel secure?
He's somebody we can rely on for anything.
Yeah.
Even if we have so many questions outside in the world, when we step out, those questions come back to you. But here, you don't feel all that commotion in your heart.
That's the divinity of the place. That's true. So you feel a sense of your soul feels secure, or maybe a better word is sheltered. Right? Sheltered. We are looking for shelter. All these are, not rubber pen.
Yeah, looks like they're from
Oh, Krishna. Okay.
So we just,
Okay.
we just
Take it.
Do you want to try erasing?
Right, so we experience togetherness, we experience peace, do we experience love?
Yeah.
When you go to temple of the Lord, we experience love. Love exchange at two levels, with the devotees and the lordships. They're praying, they feel the Lord's presence, they're taking his prasad, they're spending his garlands, and they're taking his arati, and they feel love emanating from the deity. Right? So they're trying to develop a relationship there.
respect.
Respect, right? You feel respect. Haji?
Positive energy.
You know positive energy is there, right? So my dear friends, what Prabhupada has done is that he's brought this, he's made this, like for example, currently what was happening is, like we have holy cities in India, where The Vedic culture shows that you have not just families who are God-centered, but the entire town, the whole city was God-centered. Like you have Jagannath Puri. What is Jagannath Puri? Jagannath Puri is the whole city of Jagannath Puri is basically Jagannath-centered. Right? In places in Maharashtra, you have a place called Pandharpur, where Vitthal Dev is there. The whole Pandharpur is only basically nothing else. There is no building, no skyscrapers, no big shops. Pandharinath is the Lord and Master of it. Udupi Krishna near Mangalore. The whole town is Krishna-centered. Right? So we see examples in India, till now, very much there, where you have the entire city is centered around the Lord. Srirangam, Ramakshetra, everything is there centered around Ranganath Swami. Right? So what Prabhupada has done is, while that culture was lost, he built these temples of Iskcon, where he established the same culture of the spiritual world again in these temples. Right? Then you can experience what we had lost, again you can get it back in the temples. Now what is our duty? What is the spiritual all about? What is the challenge? The challenge is to bring back that which Prabhupada brought from spiritual world to the material world in the temples, but from the temple to bring it now to the वहाँ से आया है. It's come from all over Vrindavan to Bloomington, to Juhu, to Paris, to London, to everywhere. Prabhupada brought it everywhere, right? Our job is only very simple, to take it from our place and create a road, a channel, create a channel that comes to our. That is the only thing. Because when we talk about our homes, how often we find this mood? Togetherness, love, peace. How often do we find that? I mean, basically I'm saying is, are we experiencing Vrindavan or are we experiencing Kurukshetra? Both are dhams, so no problem. Holy places. So is it Kurukshetra? How many of you experience Kurukshetra in your house? No, you're not supposed to raise your hands for that.
A rhetorical question.
So in essence, you can say this seminar is to make Kurukshetra into Vrindavan. Right. Because whether we like it or not, we are victims of Kali. And Kali has basically two powerful, as you were saying, two apps which all of every person can use, which also get inbuilt in every member who comes in Kali Yuga. Two apps which come inbuilt. What is that? Tendency for hypocrisy and right? And you can see all around, Iscon, no Iscon, that temple, this political party, this house, that any corporate world, anything. Nations are fighting, people are fighting, families are fighting, brothers, sisters are fighting, everywhere there is fight. Right? It's just absolutely everywhere. Right? So, whether we like it or not, we are all also a part of that. And Krishna consciousness is a means to actually counteract the effects of Kali. See, we cannot be practicing Krishna consciousness in that environment. With all the deities and all the temple programs and morning programs and prasadam offerings and everything else, that is essential. That is part of the sadhana. However, if you do not establish a set culture, because Iscon has got two parts, or any society has got two parts, the philosophy and the culture. The philosophy is Gita, all the books, the Bhagavatam, Isha, all the books which are there. But the books have to be lived. We are here to be living examples of the books and the teachings. So then comes a question of culture. So you want to break this temple culture. It's not just a theoretical field of knowledge. We are as it is. All the philosophy is there, but we are still Jashi Haitashi. यथारूप हम वैसे के वैसे ही हैं. माला कर रहे हैं, मंदिर जा रहे हैं, यात्रा में जा रहे हैं, सब कर रहे हैं, किंतु we are still as it is. That change. The transformation is the key to success. So this is how to create that culture in the house. Which Prabhu has given us right in our temples. That's what we will discuss in more in detail now. Vishaka.
So you were mentioning that what Srila Prabhupada did to us, he brought that culture to the temple, but it has not yet reached our home. Before we just came over here, some few months back, everybody has a landline number. So many devotees are complaining that we are calling you up, but you are not picking up the phone. They said the phone is not working. I said no, but the ring is going, we are not picking up the phone. And they were all getting really upset with us. We said, but we are not hearing any ring only at home. So how do we pick it up? And then we traced back the problem and we realized that when they used to call, it used to ring in the exchange, but it was not ringing in our home because some connection had broken between the exchange and our home. So same way, it's just for thinking those terms that this Vedic culture has reached till the temple, and whatever happened, that it has not reached our home. Right? What happened that it has not reached home? We are somebody else when we are in the temple, and we are somebody else when we are at home. We have an elephant. Everybody has seen an elephant? They have two sets of teeth. One are which? To show. And one are which? To eat. And which are more attractive? Really attractive. They sell for millions of dollars, You make a lot of, decorative pieces from ivory teeth. But those are to be seen. And that is exactly why people do not become devotees. We feel, that Iscon has the highest philosophy, the purest teachings. That means the whole world should be conquered, Why everybody is not becoming devotee? But when they see that we speak something, but we practice something else, and that's what discourages them. They are like other people, They say big things, but they are not able to practice it, right? So we have to understand that I may not be a good person to be able to give good lectures. Not every person can give good lectures and try to make devotees. But at least I can be a good example for people to see. Like this said, some people are good in action, but they don't speak. And there are some people who speak very well, but they are not good in action. The best devotee is like Grihastha Ashram, who speaks, who can preach also well and who can practice also well. Because that is what convinces the opposite person. And we know that in today's world, what is the majority population? Brahmacharis? Sannyasis? No, family people. Most people are going to be family people. We are also family people and we are going to have to address also family people. So why can't we accept this two-pronged approach? By preaching by words and by action. So that will endorse and it will go straight into people's hearts and by masses people will become devotees. Isn't it? So it will make life very, very easy. And that is exactly the reason why we are doing this Grihastha seminar, that although, like Christ said, let us be in this world, but not of this world. Somehow, what has happened that although we are trying to be devotees, but we are so much influenced by the world culture that is going on around us. Right? Now, one 60-year-old couple was there and they were celebrating their marriage anniversary, 68. So somebody asked them, to take interview. So what is the secret of your success? So he said, child, we come from the repair generation. And you are come from the disposable generation. We use the glass, throw it. We use a plate, throw it. In olden days, people used to use golden plates. You must have read in the scriptures. Golden and silver plates. Nobody eats a golden silver plate and throw it. Then people will live around dustbins only. Instead of that. Nobody does that. But today, that's how people do. He said today, if you have a cloth and there's a hole, you just throw it. You buy new clothes. But we used to take inland thread, stitch it. We used to repair it. And that is why, in our mentality, even relationships are meant to be if somebody said something to me, replace it. Somebody said something to me, change it. And you always feel, that change is the in thing. Even when a young boy or a young girl, they say, if they want to find a partner, what will they do? It's like mobile, Mobile or a partner or a car, you always feel if I waited for some more time, I would get a better model. Last one is green on the other side. You always feel that if I wait for some more time, I'll get a better person. But is there such a thing existing? Marriages are made in heaven means what? It's not a very poetic phrase to be said, Oh, marriages are made in heaven. It doesn't mean that your patrika was, invitation card was sent from printed up there and it has come. Means that God thought that whatever partner I need to make progress in my path of journey back to Godhead, that type of partner He will give me. There might be 100 more handsome men, or there might be 1,000 more beautiful ladies, but for me, this is the best. That is what it means, because God thought this is the best for me. So what I have to do? I have to make it work. One time, there was this very, very rich man, and he had a millionaire. Billionaire, what do we call it? And he had an only daughter. Very rich person. And he said, I want to get my daughter married. Like a modern day Swayamvar type. We have read in Sita Swayamvar, Dwarkadhish. So he said, all those candidates, young boys who want to, marry my daughter, tomorrow we have a pool in our swimming pool in our mansion. So please come on the pool side and we will all gather. And whoever gets married to my daughter will get half my, estate, and will get the hand of my daughter. So I mean, imagine, billionaire's daughter, whether she's good looking or no, who doesn't want to marry her? But she was good looking also. So lot of candidates came and stood around the swimming pool. And then they all were there and the father came to the daughter and said, so I have a small test that whoever can swim from one end to the swimming pool to the other end, I will give the hand of my daughter. Everybody knows swimming pool is wall, to jump into the swim. Sometimes I just want to tell you one information. There are a lot of poisonous snakes and scorpions in the swimming pool. So 2 steps ahead and 10 steps behind. If you are alive, then you will be able to get married. Who is going to take the risk? Nobody was coming forward. And suddenly there was a big splash. And one young man, started swimming and came out from the other side. And the father was so relieved, like Janak Maharaj was that at least somebody married, So he came out and he held the hand of the boy and he said, well done young man, now you take the hand of my daughter and half my estate. So the boy said, that's alright sir, but first tell me who pushed me in. Who pushed me into the swimming pool? So the question is that, who pushed you into getting married? Who pushed you? The men have a choice to be brahmacharis if they want to be, But women have a choice? No. In Vedic system, we don't have a choice. It's always safer. They say in younger age, the father protects, then the husband protects at the middle age, and the young son protects in old age. So it's always recommended that you get married. And men had a choice, but you did it. So, we have made a conscious decision. The purpose of telling you this nice story is, we decided to get married. Then on whom is the onus to get the marriage working? My partner. On who is the onus? Whenever we have seminars, we were just telling, people tell, come let's go for the Grihastha seminar. If you hear something in the mind, unspoken words, if he hears something, then he will improve. And the man is thinking, let's go. If she hears something, she will improve. But we don't go by thinking that if I will hear something, I will improve from our own angle. Because we are always wanting change in the other person. But as we say that, how many hands are required to clap? 2 hands. Always. You cannot clap with 1 hand. So if there is any problem, the ratio might differ. that 75% is your fault, but 25% is my fault. 80% is your fault, 20% my fault. Okay, 90% is your fault, 10% my fault. So, where do we begin? With the 90% or with the 5% which is in my hands? If one of the partners decides that, okay, where can I make the change first? Instead of just expecting the opposite person to make a change, whether it is man or woman, we are not talking of that. We are not talking of male ego. It's not only that the males are ego. It's a term used, but is there something called female ego? You cannot say it, but there is. There is. So we are trying to understand that who wants the marriage to work? When we say sorry to somebody, what does it mean? Doesn't mean that I am wrong, but it means that I want my relationship to work. I want to make a change, and I have to make a conscious effort. Things don't happen automatically. Do things happen automatically? Even when you answer nature's call, it doesn't even flush automatically. You have to flush. Then it happens. So when you are doing these type of things, bad things in our relationship, if you want to flush, you have to make an effort to do it. And then only it improves. And like we were discussing yesterday, that if I want to practice as a devotee, it is very, very necessary for me to have peace. Basic need is peace in the house. Because without peace, it is very difficult to do anything. Prabhuji gave an example yesterday that if you have had a fight at home and you go to the office, what happens? You can't work properly, your mind doesn't work properly, you put in wrong figures, the data is not put properly, something gets deleted which doesn't have to be deleted and you get fired. And women at home, they may put no salt, they may put more salt. Anything happens in the house. Why? Because while we are doing our daily routine, in our mind it goes on. Why did he say this? Why did I say this? Why did he do this? Why did I do this? The two main problems in the world, our Bhakti-Rasamrita Maharaj, very scholarly person, he brought it down to just these two words. Why did he do this? And why did he say that? And why did he do this? And why did he say that? Think about it. We'll give you 2 seconds. Can you put a third thing? Everything comes in these two categories. All relationship problems. He said this, he didn't say this, he did this and he didn't do this. He means she also. It's all about that, you know. So why can't we take the first step? When we put down our ego and we take the first step, then Krishna becomes happy. Because we are not trying to, win a battle. What happens when there is a fight? We want to try to prove that I am right. Isn't it true? One son went to a wedding with the father, and in Indian culture, I don't know whether you all have, we have Hastamela. You know what is Hastamela? Before the marriage ceremony begins, the man and the woman, they hold hands. So say Hasta means hand and Mela. So the son asked the father, Dad, why do they hold hands before marriage? So he said, son, have you seen a wrestling match? Before the match starts, they hold hands, before the fight starts. So that's the impression people have in their mind, that now we are going to fight. So should it be like that? On the other side, it's not that when you get married, we have those movie type of ideas, everything is red carpet, or rosy pictures, dreams, and that dream boy and the dream girl of my life, we have come together and everything is going to be heavenly. It doesn't happen like that. You have to work on it. And when there is a marriage, we all say, oh, you're getting married? All the arrangements are done? So we say, yes. Everything is done. The hall is booked, the menu has been fixed, the guests have been invited, invitation cards have gone out, and gifts have been bought, jewelry has been bought, clothes have been bought. We are ready. Right? But are you mentally prepared for the marriage? These are all external arrangements. When we go for yatra, we start packing for the yatra, so we pack our bags. Everything. Oh, Vrindavan, we are going to Vrindavan. So we pack the kit and the toothbrush, toothpaste, shaving soap, clothes, jackets, and whatever we have to take, socks, and then we are going to Vrindavan. But in our mind, we are still sitting in Bombay, or in US, and our body is in Vrindavan, but our mind is where? Oh, I have to call that client. He told me that I have to tell that, or the ladies are thinking, what about my son's tuition teacher and the job? So our mind is somewhere else. We prepared, we packed, but externally. So same way when we get married, in the olden days people used to give instructions. Like you see Ramayana. In Ramayana when Sita and her sisters were getting married, the mother of Sita, anybody knows her name? The parents' name of Sita? Father's name is Janak. What is mother's name? Sunaina. Her name was Sunaina. So she made all the 4 daughters sit and she gave instructions to them. That see, you are getting married in a very royal family of Ram. These are Raghuvanshis, and they have 4 brothers and your 4 sisters. Each one of you should have such influence on your husbands, such that you maintain the unity of the brothers. And several other things. Consider their home as your home. Be in a mood of a servant. Serve your family well. Serve your in-laws well. And there are chapters in the Ramayana which mention the instructions which Sunaina gave. In today's day, when the girl is getting married to the boy and going, what the mother tells? Go, get married and go. If there's any problem, we are there. Come back. Right? Either they are not told anything or they are given wrong assurances like this. That don't worry, we are there. So they don't teach you how to adjust, how to accommodate, how to gel in the family nicely. They don't give you all those instructions. They only give you bad options. In olden days, there was no option. That's why there were less divorces. One day Gandhiji had a fight with his wife. And he shouted at his wife and he said, get lost to your mother's house. You ever heard that dialogue? Sometimes husbands say that. Go to your mother's house. You're stupid and whatever. So Gandhiji locked the door and threw her out of the house. And in the night he sent her out, and in the morning when he opened the door, he saw that she was sleeping outside the threshold, outside the door. He said, did you hear I told you, go to your mother's house? So he said, which house? This is my house. When I got married, my mother told me that your palanquin is going, and now only your funeral party, as they call, will come into this house. I don't want you back home. So I have to stay there, and Gandhiji's heart melted and came, he accepted her home. Here today the husband will tell the wife that you go to your mother's house. What the wife will say? Who are you to tell? I am moving with the resignation letter in my pocket. Before the boss tells them, you are fired. So they will say, what fired? I am carrying the resignation letter in my pocket. I will go away first before you can send me. That is the mentality which we have got because of modernization, modern culture. So if we can understand that, what are we talking here about? We are talking about strengthening the bonds that free us. Sounds like a contradiction? We are talking about bonds. What do bonds do? Bind. Right? We said bonded labor. What is bonded labor? Slavery. Right? We are getting bound by things. You don't have any independence. You have to do what is being told. Sometimes we are bound by what? Our attachments. Isn't it? My mobile. First thing in the morning you get up, you don't think, there's my mobile. There's my feedback. First thing there's my mobile. Any messages have come in the night. This. First thing. What do you do first thing? What is most important to you? We are so attached to our mobile. My car. Somebody banged it, something happened to the car, my house, my dad, my this, my that. These are all the types of bondages which bind us. So are there any bonds which free us? Can we think of any bonds which free us?
Bonding to Krishna.
Yeah, bond with Lordship.
Yeah.
Bond with Krishna frees us. Bond with who else?
Wife.
With devotees. Bond with devotees can free us. The more attached you are to devotees, better it is, no? That will free us. What else if you are attached to is good? Scriptures. There are some devotees who cannot live without reading scriptures daily. However tired they are, however late they are, they know that this is my shelter. So even one line, they will read, think about it and sleep. Very good. Attachment to scriptures. Which other attachments can free us? Spiritual master. He is our savior. Aren't we supposed to be attached to him? Or should we be detached? I am detached from my spiritual master. Means what? In fact, disciple means discipline. And obedience comes first. We don't do anything without asking our spiritual master. We can make 100 independent plans and do. But will that please Krishna and satisfy him? No. So yes, attachment to spiritual master. Attachment to Dham. Right? If somebody says, I want to go to Vrindavan, I want to go. So look at him, so attached to Vrindavan. Do you say that? Or you say, oh, I wish I had some desire, or even a drop of that desire to be able to go to Vrindavan. We don't say. So these are the type of bonds which free us. So that's what we are trying to talk about. When we are doing these Grihastha seminars, we are not talking about how to become more attached to each other so that you can have a very romantic relationship. Because that's not the goal of our life. There is two types of, what do you say? There is a football and a kite. So the kite is attached to the string and the football is free. But what is the football attached, free to be kicked? Football is free to be kicked. So when we are free, we are being kicked around by Maya. But if we are attached to a Krishna conscious partner, so the longer the string, it is a string. There are strings attached. But what happens? If it is flying in the right direction, the longer the string, the higher you soar in the sky. Sky of Krishna consciousness. So that's what we are trying to discuss. That how I can strengthen my relationship on a Krishna conscious basis so that I can achieve the goal of my life faster and I can become what? I can become free from my attachments. Then that attachment is justified. Then what are we doing together? We are serving together. It's not 1 and 1 doesn't become 2. 1 and 1 becomes 11. Your services are multiplied. If you are serving alone, if you get a partner who will cook food, you want to have a preaching program and you are alone. You can play Kartar, you can play Mridang, you need somebody to have a house, to cook, to invite people, to do this. And together as a unit, you can do so much more preaching. So that's what we want to focus on, that how should we increase the spiritual content in our relationship and how much are we ready to sacrifice, how much are we ready to accommodate just for a higher cause. We may not be getting along, we may not like each other, but can we try to think of reasons by which we can come together for a higher cause? That's what we wanted to discuss about.
So any questions so far? We have spoken for 45 minutes. We take one of the questions briefly and then we continue. So there is exchange. Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to extend the same concept with the other devotees also. You can do the same thing. You may not agree with whatever they are thinking, but at the same time, you can accommodate it and make peace with them. Everybody will be happy also. Not only wife and husband. I'm saying extend it to other people, other family members, like the devotees also.
Anybody else like to say something or ask something?
What Prabhuji said is just the perfect thing. Actually, because we have less time, but otherwise we take growth on 3 levels: personal, family, and community. The principles are the same. We try to broaden it that if there is personal growth, because families are made up of individuals and communities are made up of families. Isn't it true? So if basically as an individual we have this mentality and these qualities, accommodating each other, then we will be able to extend it even to the family. So right now, because we are talking, the topic given to us was about Grihastha life, husband life, but definitely in our minds we have to extend it to community. It's the same thing. Don't you have
Mataji, you mentioned about the modern women teaching their daughters that if something happens, you don't worry, I'm here, versus what happened in olden days. But in olden days, like in modern time, the crime rate and everything is also gone so up. I mean, the women are not as safe as they were. I'm not sure about the olden time, but at least now, if the parents don't show that support that we are here, then probably they'll just end up suffering. I mean, there could be extreme scenarios, but I'm just talking about. I'm not saying that we should always support them, but I'm also saying that we cannot just say that okay, since you're all married and you're gone, we have no relation with you and we're not going to take care of anything.
And just to add to that, first of all, Gandhi, she suffered a lot with her husband. Personally, I feel she should not have stayed with Mahatma. She should have left because she's not happy, he's not happy. I mean, if your husband throws you out on the street, lying there and waiting for him to accept you, that's just not right.
I mean, in India, there are so many instances. I follow some series of real life, and I've seen some real life within our, our relations and friends and communities and neighborhoods. There are so many unlimited examples where atrocities have been done on women. It's not that women don't do atrocities, but naturally, women are not physically as powerful as men. And there have been so many atrocities which women go through. And in those scenarios, if they don't have support from their parents as well. So it's really tough. I've also seen the scenarios wherein the parents are the ones who spoil the relations of husband and wife. So that is there. But should draw lines
when we are mentioning this example, it's just an analogy to prove a particular point. See, whenever you give an analogy, it's not to be stretched beyond, because here we are not talking the whole life of Mahatma Gandhi or the whole scenario. We are just talking. Obviously, if there is some issue like this, it's a principle which we are talking. Parents are not going to shut their doors. It's just to say that this is how the girl thinks from her angle. So we are just trying to prove a particular point. It's not that whether you live or die in the house, you commit suicide, our doors are closed. Obviously, that's not the meaning. So analogy, whenever it is given in any situation, we have to take it limited to that particular thing. We don't mean it like that.
Mataji, I have a question to Vishaka Mataji's comment regarding Mahatma Gandhi's wife. And I am coming from the older generation from them. And I think it is about tolerance. When we have tolerance, we can take it a long way. The newer generation, and coming to my daughters, and I don't know my grandchildren's generation, the women's tolerance level has diminished. So I was also with that same concept that we went from our father's house to our husband's house, and then we went from a marriage to the funeral. And I think that instilling of that fright also put in an amount of tolerance. Then also the other concept is of a joint family scenario. Nowadays it's more nuclear, but if you are living in a joint family situation, the young bride learns a lot of tolerance and also patience. So with these two, I have taken my 35, 36 years of marriage to mostly from patience to tolerating.
Yeah, because when we say that 30%, 60% of marriages end up in divorce, we are not trying to, wherever is it said that the rest of the 30% are happy marriages. It's just that they are not divorced. Because that's our Indian culture. But because we are going away from our Indian culture, as Mataji is rightly saying, we are trying to bring those things back. Even in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada gives the example of that street sweeper when he and his friend were walking, and she had a gungat, and somebody went and opened it and the street sweeper slapped him. And Prabhupada said that was very good because the shyness of a lady is her ornament. So we are not trying to tell that all of us should move around with the bunga. But what we are talking about is that each one has to play their role properly. The man has a particular role in society, the woman has a particular role in society, and where the problem is coming because we are mixing up our roles. The man, the woman wants to, play the role of a man in today's day and age, in olden days, and this is the result of high education today. Everybody is educated, that we need because of, as Prabhuji was mentioning, that there is so much insecurity in society. The husband may need support, if the wife is not educated, we cannot remain illiterate. That tomorrow we need to earn money, we are able to earn money. But because of that education, sometimes even if there is no need, the women want to work outside, they want to be at par. And when you are at par, it is very difficult to remain humble and dependent. A woman is supposed to show their dependence or, behave in a dependent way, which we are not able to show because of the current scenario. So we are not talking, that we have to be dependent, that every day you ask, can you give me $100? Can you give me 100? Not that type of dependence. But in our mind, we have to understand that 1 and 2 has come together with a particular motive and each one has a different role. That is one of the topics which we take. What is the role of a woman in Krishna consciousness and what is the role of a man? There are subsequent topics, but just to cover it in short, that if we understand that what is my role in married life, each one, and not try to mix up the roles, that's where the problems start coming. So we are here just trying to talk about principles. Is that okay?
Mataji, I have a question actually. I agree to whatever everybody is saying and whatever you are saying, but I, in my personal life, have seen in my parents' life and whosoever is in my relationship, 90% of the quarrel or the disputes are due to false ego, and I am also suffering with the same thing because every time the quarrel is there, later on if I introspect, I find that 90% of the problem, I am not saying with me or with my husband, but that is due to false ego, and I am finding it really very difficult to overcome it. So, it would be helpful for me if you can tell me anything which will help me overcome this false ego even by 10 or 20 or 30%, because I think that will reduce this thing and I'll focus more in my Krishna consciousness.
We are devotees here, means trying to be devotees. So at least we have a better chance than the outside world because we understand what is humility. How many of us have heard this word humility before we became devotees? We have heard this word so much. Who talks about it, Life just goes on. We stand on each other's feet, we trample it, but nobody talks about humility. At least we talk about these concepts over here. So that is why, right now we are talking about husband-wife relationship, but on an individual level, we are trying to be devotees. When we do good sadhana, when we read and we hear regularly, these qualities, it is said, Vaishnava qualities start developing in us, which will be helpful for us in all spheres of life. Personal level, family level, community level, as he said, because we will be able to develop those qualities. So simultaneously we work on both sides, we try to do good sadhana and this, and plus when we hear these type of things, these type of seminars and discussions which are not commonly discussed in Bhagavatam classes, right? You cannot, when you are talking about Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, 7th canto, you cannot talk about Grihastha life focusedly. One or two points might be covered, but you will not be able to focus and talk. That's precisely why we are having these sort of discussions.
Yeah, so then your question is well taken. False ego is at the root of all conflicts in the world, probably just the life. Every conflict which is ever taken place in human history is because of, there is no other reason, right? Every conflict you can think of, trace it back, what is it? It was false ego, right? So, the Krishna consciousness process is complete, is thorough and is complete. And in this culture of Vaishnavism, we are asked to chant God's holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
And we hear from these scriptures, so many lectures, wonderful concepts. And this chanting clears the heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. As we clear the heart, the intrinsic qualities of the soul which are there. The soul by nature is pure. The soul is not corrupted. It is the existence of the material world for millions of lifetimes, which has, and in contact with the surrounding of material energy, which has completely covered the soul's original and pure nature. So the more we actually accept the true spirit of bhakti in our lives, or chanting with absorption and practicing the principles of bhakti, you will see that a lot of these layers of false. First of all, I would say that the fact that you even recognize there is a falsehood between you and your husband and wife, that itself is a good step. Right? And you're asking a question, and you're showing, and that's your strength. That's how I would say your strength, that you are understanding your weakness, that I'm a victim of false ego. So you already made progress in understanding this. So when you are, your husband is here? Okay. Okay. Right? But when you have a problem with your husband, or vice versa, for one, all of us have, the moment you go back, you have a fight, you speak something, you say wild words, I don't like it, you don't like it, get out, this, that, something, bakwas, whatever we may say, right? Because when you're crazy, you can speak so many things. But when you go back, the mind is more calm down. You trace it back, what did happen? And as you said, the false ego will be there. Then how do you react to that? How do you react to that? Now, false ego can be conquered by the power of humility. Correct? And you take their step to again patch up with your husband. If your false ego is to be maintained, to be protected, because this is false ego. False ego is your identity. Why should I not talk to him? The guy is not worthy of talking again. So you reject it, don't talk to it. The fight and the conflict and the tension goes on for sometimes hours, and sometimes days and weeks, and sometimes months. It never gets repaired. But because the power of Prabhupada's mercy and Krishna mercy is that because you are a devotee, you will do something in your life, definitely, to patch it up. Want to do that? Want to do that? You had problems in your life before also. So think of the problems before you became a devotee, the conflicts you had, and now after becoming a practitioner. We are not saying we are not devotees, we are practicing, you try to become. Hasn't the problem reduced? Conflicts have reduced. The time gap required to patch up again, has it reduced? Yes or no? Yes? So is that victory or not, or the false ego? To eliminate the false ego is like, when Vishaka Mataji could not do it after 6,000 years of tapasya. So to annihilate the false ego will take long time. But if your conflicts are reduced, you become more understanding and sensitive. And when they take place, you are able to say sorry more easily. You are able to go in touch and say, oh, you blew it up again, sorry, And then I think I was in stress, I was in my periods, or I was, whatever else, or my boss fired me, or something, you at least know that I acted wrongly. You can at least go and patch it up, right? So that itself is a good victory over your false ego. Don't you agree that? We all agree with this, right? So we are getting direct benefit from Krishna conscious culture. If you didn't have this component in your life, your man are probably in a much more rocky situation than now that you have it, it's much easier, right? So you are going forward, don't worry. Go on.
You're on the right path.
You're on the right path. And yes, the fact is, to just go a little more in a general manner, Krishna conscious culture, the family life is basically an environment where we actually have to practice what we are hearing. And we used to have our physics and chemistry laboratories where we used to join some, this is Coulomb's law, this is a charge, and this is gravitational force. You throw a ball, it falls on at 9.8 meters per second. We used to read in our classes. And we used to also go into our labs and actually throw balls, remember? Yeah. We used to actually throw a ball and then measure it, how much it falls down at, and we used to manipulate the readings because it was not 9.8. Right? Because something we didn't do the experiment properly. So we used to do all that, right? So there was experiment. We were taught the frogs rise the system, and Dr. Saab has cut frogs, I have cut frogs, I have cut cockroaches, and we have done all that stuff, right? Because we wanted to see. So there was a laboratory. So family life is a laboratory to practice the divine principles of Krishna consciousness. This is the classroom, and your home is your lab. Right? And you won't learn your science if you just keep it restricted to this four walls of classroom. You are expected to learn from here all the lofty ideas of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and go home and say, yes, I'm going to practice this. Right? And only when you practice it, then you have to digest that knowledge. Application of that knowledge changes from jnana and then you come into vigyan, when you have to realize. So be thankful. Even there's a fight, in one sense it's undesirable. But on the other hand, it gives you a chance to really practice the beautiful principle of Krishna consciousness. You didn't fight with your husband जानबूझ के आज थोड़ा दो दिन बाद नहीं हुआ it's boring there's no spice in life. Let's not about fight. Pick up something and you really start to you fight inadvertently, just land up misunderstanding and wrong. But if you look at the other side of you, it gives you a chance to practice humility, practice forgiveness, practice tolerance, practice patience. These things you can be practiced because life is the field which Krishna has created, the sadhan, as I said, the madhyam which Krishna has created to practice the beautiful principles of Krishna consciousness. So they both are complementary. The teachings of bhakti and family life, they are, like, as I said, braids of our ladies' hair. You have to integrate them together in our life. And then things will happen. So, the more and more we become Krishna conscious, to become more and more purified, the more these qualities will actually erupt in your heart. And you will see that. You will see that. You already see that, in fact. Okay. So, it's 8:20. And we are officially supposed to be home until 8:30. So I'm just thinking right now, I have the whole book to cover. This is we have about 10 modules of just the training programs which last several months of training. But I'm skeptical that I should start a new subject now or nothing take relevant questions which may have come to your mind already and continue the discussion on the interactive way. Should we take more questions you may have? Anybody has any questions now? Yes, Prabhu, we can go on, I think so.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So I have twofold questions.
Twofold.
So, first one is, may sound silly, but how do you cultivate vision of seeing your partner as devotee?
Okay.
Because, like, you know him or her intimately in your day-to-day life, or I think he or she is the closest person you live with. I mean,
Exactly.
In all aspects. So there comes a sense of, this is my second part of the question, there comes a sense of ownership. Like, you expect your better half to behave certain way. Or there are some guidelines for your own family that you want to follow. And when that rubs off in a different way, then you start getting, agitated. Like, the better half did not, behave in a certain way.
Right.
So, my first question is, like, how do you start cultivating that habit, of seeing, because the moment I talk about some other devotee, you automatically become humble, or you automatically, like, Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. But I personally rarely do that with my wife. Like, the moment I see her, like, I don't get that quality. It is pretentious, you may call it, but I'm just being honest. Like, you don't get that. Why is that? I mean, like, is it because you know him or her intimately, or, that's the question. Sorry.
Very nice question. Beautiful question. I was fortunate in this regard when Vishaka Mataji and myself got married so many years ago. I remember the spiritual master, and bowed down to him and touched his feet and said, Maharaj, please instruct us. How do we live? Incidentally, we were the first marriage in Radha Govinda temple. So, and he was available luckily at that time. So he said, so he gave various instructions, but the first thing he said was what you are talking about. He said, Dwarkadhish, Vishaka is my daughter. And the way you take care of her is the way you are actually dealing with me. If you take care of her, deal with her with love and respect, that comes to me. And if you act otherwise, that's the way you with me. Then he looked at me and said, and looked at Vishaka and said, Dwarkadhish is my son. But it wasn't funny. It was very serious when he was saying that. Because it was a marriage, you're already conscious of the marriage was a heavy commitment you're making to each other. But those words were important at that time for us, right? Because you're really looking forward to being blessed in our relationship, to move forward in our journey of our life. He looked at Vishaka and said, Dwarkadhish is my son, and the same thing he told her also. The way you deal with him with love and respect is that you do it with me, right? So we need to see this connection between our spiritual master and our partners. That's one dimension which will probably help you. That if I profess to love my spiritual master, do you have a spiritual master? Are you initiated?
Master.
You aspire. Okay. So in your heart of hearts, you already are connected. But if you didn't have a spiritual master, His Divine Grace is our eternal spiritual master. He's our preeminent Shiksha Guru, right? So if you see that my spiritual master would like to see me leading a very happy, God-conscious spiritual life in my family situation. Correct? Right? And when I see Vishaka as my spiritual master's daughter, as a gift of my Guru to me, to help me in my life's journey, then I cannot become complacent in my relationship with her. I cannot. And even though I have a conditional side, when I see sometimes off otherwise, or I may have a fight or a conflict, then I have to go with conditioning nature. But by and large, I am supposed to see her as a Vaishnavi. And then he said further, he said, Vishaka, that was the first part. The second part he said that, Vishaka Priya, Dwarkadhish is a devotee first, and he happens to be your husband. And looked at me and said, Vishaka Priya is a Vaishnavi, and she happens to be your wife. So that was very important because that was a very paradigm shift. Right? I said, she's my wife, and she happens to be a devotee. Right? You see the difference? Right? And he's my husband. And he's also a devotee. He's also, right? There's a huge difference in that. The primary identity has to be the soul's identity, right? Primary identity is Brahmasmi, I am the soul. At the level of soul, Swedish is a spiritual relationship. You see, the relationship can be material or spiritual. Marriage per se is considered as a material bond. Why? Because it's not an eternal bond. The bond of Sri Guru and the Krishna is eternal bond because it's an unbreakable relationship. Janma Janma Prabhu says in the Guru Puja, right? Divyagana Prakashito. But we don't have a Janma Janma relationship with our partners. But when I see them more and more as material, as you said, the point of ownership, that she's mine, why? Mine. The word mine, I is there. So, Janasa Mahomya Ahamameti. The moment I see as mine, then my attitude and my everything will be just related to how she deals with me. When I say she is Krishna's daughter. She's a Jivatma, Krishna's daughter. Krishna has sent out of his loving mercy this girl to be my life partner, to help me in my spiritual life. When I see that connection, that means I put myself out. I see the connection with Krishna. Then I have to treat it with a lot of respect. I have to. Right? So it depends on how much we see that connection with Sri Guru and with Sri Krishna. And that, as I said, depends on our purification. Therefore, this is mainstream answer, but the wife does not call the husband by the name. When we talk by the name, hey Ramesh, udhar aao, be back again mera. Or Ramesh, jalebi na gas mat kar dena dal. Jalebi, whatever, right? So when you call him as, Krishna Das Prabhu, so then you address each other also as in a devotee manner. Like when I say, I don't address her by a civil name. Her name is Vaishali, for example. I will say Vishaka Mataji. Right? So I'm addressing her Vishaka Mataji because I want that to be more important. Vaishali is just a name which I have to use for documents and for legal purposes. Right? So when you address it with respect, so then we are coming to the concept now of addressing them with that level of respect. So when we see that she also is a practicing devotee. I mean, Amana Manajana is principle which is whether she is devotee or not, that still applies. Right? Your wife may be a devotee, may not be devotee. I'm not going to ask you about that. Right? And she is worthy of all respect. Even if she's not practicing devotee, so what? The fact that she is my Ardhangini, that's it. And why is it Ardhangini? She is worthy of respect. In fact, in Vaishnava culture, the most important thing in Vaishnava culture is respect. Vedic culture at all levels is a culture of respect. So if I see with an eye of respect, then it will be easy to see her in a Vaishnava way. The moment I see her as my property, someone who just working for me or cooking for me, taking care of me or taking care of my children or whatever. And I see put myself at the center, my respect tends to degenerate down, and then there is going to be a material dimension which will probably come in more. So, and therefore, one thing which can help is that you do spiritual activities together. Like you have meetings in the house, for example, right? So if you have the time on Ekadashi day, many times most devotees will worship the deity on Ekadashi day, make the dress change. So both work together. Okay, Prabhu, can you get the paraphernalia ready while I'm doing this, making the Abhishek saman, or can you do this? And so that both are working together. So they are together, right? They sit and chant together. They sometimes read together, and they hear together, right? And on breakfast time, when we share ourselves sit together for breakfast every in the morning, then we often, apart from the regular things which we will discuss, which every man woman will discuss, we will deliberately talk about our perspectives in Krishna consciousness. She has heard Harana yesterday, I have heard something yesterday, I read something yesterday. We will share that. So the conversation in the house should not be just the logic talk, which is essential, of course. I don't say it's not essential, but बच्चे स्कूल गए कि नहीं, पढ़ाई हुआ कि नहीं, खाना खाया कि नहीं, सोए कि नहीं, वगैरह वो जो बोलना है तो बोलना ही है, right? किंतु उसके उपरांत भी do husband and wife share actual Krishna conscious talk, right? And the moment you do that, it really, because the wife is a practicing devotee, it really makes it's like a friend. Like Brahmacharya will talk about themselves, अरे यार क्या point मिल रहा है मेरे को, भागवत में क्या first class लिखा है point, ठीक हो गया बात भी, right? But you should see her as a spiritual friend. She's a spiritual friend, right? As much as you are, she is also the same. Spiritually, she is equal to you, right? So when you have Krishna conscious talks with your partners, it enhances the spiritual component, the K factor. The more the K factor in your relationship, K means of course the Krishna factor. The more the Krishna factor is that you serve together, listen together, discuss together, right? The more that bond becomes consolidated. And then you really enjoy the relationship, not on a sensual platform, the physical platform. Yes, the emotional platform, but you really enjoy that this is the type of Krishna I want. He's such a great asset to me to increase the depth of my relationship with Krishna. Right? That will happen. But for that first there has to be emotional bonding. The physical bonding is already there. You marry together, you sleep together, eat together, same roof, that is there. And that's what is stressed in the outside world, the physical bond. But we say, start with the emotional bond. Work on that. And as the emotional bonding takes place, then you can actually add more of the Krishna factor. Krishna factor. Add it more. And then you have physical, emotional, spiritual. It's a triple bond. The strongest bonds in the nature are all triple bonds, right? Chemistry, carbon, valencies, four valencies, triple bonds, hydrocarbons, right? So the strongest bond is physical, emotional, and spiritual. In the outside world, the breakage is very strong, very often because it's so much based on the physical component of the relationship. Of what I get and what you get out of the relationship, the physical front, right? So the single bond, it breaks so fast. The moment you don't gratify your senses, it snaps. Right? But when it is emotionally bonded, and then you have the K factor, it is a bond which is solid. It is very solid. Right? So these are some of the thoughts.
Thank you.
Right. And now, before we end, I want to do something very important. I want to ask our dear Dwarkadhish Prabhu and the wise man here. He's a senior most Grihastha, 36 years of marriage. People. So I'm much junior, and most of us are much more junior to that wisdom experience. So I wanted to come here to sit for a few minutes, and before the class ends and we go on for prashad and other things, please share some wisdom of what, something you shared yesterday of course, but maybe you can elaborate a little more. And share the wisdom of your life, because really this is a science which is not learned from the books. The Grihastha situation is not a bookish knowledge. If पढ़ने के बाद उसको master कर सकते हैं. It's something that has to come from generation to generation. So, please.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your confidence in me. As we all know that I have not been Krishna conscious from the beginning of 36 years of married life, and became Krishna conscious only 6 years ago. But the success of a married life is the same. You know, it's a partnership. You have to respect each other, love each other, be accommodating, be respecting, and have a lot of tolerance, especially for the ladies. So for that, I am grateful to Anandya Devi that she has a lot of patience with me. So I've not been to that extent that I throw her out of the house and she has to sleep on the threshold. But we have had differences, and then, you know, she will just keep quiet, and then we slowly get over. And, you know, time is a big healing factor. So whenever you have problem in the personal relationship, just be tolerant and patient with your husbands, basically. And the time factor will heal. And the important thing that happened, the most important thing that happened in our life is that we became Krishna conscious. And when we became Krishna conscious, I became Krishna conscious before her. She took a little time to get into the system. And the chanting helped us so much. It brought up so much good qualities. Basically the humility, the humbleness, that, as we just was said, is not very easy to cultivate. We like humiliation. We like to humiliate people because that gives us the ego drive that, I did so person. But we never think of pleasing or serving other people till we become devoted to God. So that was a big change in our life, and after that, we saw that our relationship also became more calm, call it Shantaras or whatever, and very accommodating, very peaceful. And it's very important, and it's a blessing if both the partners are in Krishna consciousness, because then, as it is said, that one becomes 11. Otherwise, marriage is like a cart driven by two horses. So if both the horses are in unison, the cart is going to go very fast. But if one horse is going in one direction, the other going in the other direction, or one is lagging, it becomes difficult. So if both of you in married life are together, that is very conducive to Krishna consciousness and progressing very fast, and which luckily we have for the last so many years, and that's what we should all aim for. Center your life around Krishna, pray together, chant together, read scriptures together, and keep all your activities centered around Krishna. And then everything else becomes immaterial. The other things are less mundane, but you still have to do it, you still have to do this work and carry on this. You have to be responsible, you can't just give up your responsibilities. Carry on your duties, but then all your worries and all are gone. You don't have any apprehension of future or what's going to happen. And if something happens, you're not so much disturbed by what's happening, because ultimately everything happens for good. And that all comes with the consciousness. So, that in a nutshell is my advice, and I hope it helps you all.
Any questions for him? He's a wise man.
Prabhuji and Mataji are setting a wonderful example to our community, Prabhu.
Exactly.
They have been doing a wonderful, they represent us very well.
They are the parents of this congregation.
Yes, they are.
There's one small incident I want to share. When I lived in Saudi Arabia for 12 years. And Dhruv was born there, so when he was in the womb, I had smuggled one Gita. Smuggled. Yeah, you cannot take it there. If they catch you on the customs, they find you, they imprison you, they can even send you back. So I had to smuggle one Gita. So when he was in the womb, I used to read Gita to his mother. And I think from there we got this was coming. He's also he's a very genuine devotee. So that's the other benefit, you get your progeny who is also in the devotional service, if you are devotional yourself, and that's the biggest blessing.
So when you fought, how did you resolve it?
She might know better. I fight, but I'm a very fast forgetter, not forgiver, but forgetter. I forget. I must have fought many times on silly things, but I then overcome it and I forget. So she might remember. I don't know.
Are there any comments on this question?
Yes, that's a very, very good and that quality I learned from him. Because whenever he fought, and we always fought, it was almost every day. But as soon as he fought, he said he grew up like a Jwalamuki, and then the next minute he was, like after 5 minutes, it was all back to normal. But I was not able to come back to that level because I was still very high-headed. And I would stop eating, not talking. And I saw that, first I thought it was just maybe an act, or he's ignoring me, or he's ignoring my tears. I used to cry a lot, scream a lot. And it didn't, at that moment, it didn't have any effect on him. And then I saw he was back to normal, back to exactly as that loving person before we fought. And everything was normal. So slowly I also learned. I said, okay, if he's going to fight and still eat that food that I will also. And believe me, it worked, because I also then learned to stop. I was angry at that moment. We reacted, and then after 10 minutes we went back to normal. So sometimes the kids used to look at us and say, we all both are going to sit in the car and going to shout and talk and fight. We are not coming. So then, because we never realized what we were doing to the kids also. Because that fight, for us it was normal. It was this, because then we were back to normal again. And this younger generation, especially for you all, if you fight, it is always to realize that you have to say sorry. You have to be the one. Don't wait for the other person to say sorry, because that will never happen. Sometimes it may not happen to the way you want it to be happening. I'm sorry. That's not the way you want it either. So but if you genuinely be sorry for what you did, and then remember not to make that same mistake again, takes you a long way. And never ever go to sleep in anger. Because that one day becomes 2 days, and 2 days becomes 3, and then it can go very long. And I don't remember in all these years that we have not fought. I may have even fought today. But we never gone to sleep in anger. And the other thing is also always be truthful with one another. If you, no matter what it is, even if you know that you are going to get shouted at or there's something is going to happen, it may be because you did something that required that, that correction. But if you start keeping secrets, that secrets with small things, it becomes a habit, and that habit then becomes a crime, and that should not be. It is, we are two people, two identities. He still will call me, and people, you all know that standing joke, that I am CEO, and people ask me, what do you do? I've not held a job for a long time outside the house, but I always gave priority to family and to him. And as Prabhuji said, he is in control. The husband is always, you are independent, no matter how much you earn and no matter how much you can earn. But always they are in control, and you have to, as a woman, if you learn that little thing of giving them that dignity, all the wealth is yours, everything is yours. They don't earn anything. Everything is with you, but there's another way of getting it. And if you can always make sure to respect one another, and especially be able to give that respect rather than demand it. Once you give it, then automatically everything falls. So fight as much as you want. Say, but don't say hurtful things that really, really hurt the other person. Because, and when I became Krishna conscious and I started reading the scriptures, the very first verse of the Iscon tells us that all this Vachuvega, that's the worst weapon. No matter how many bombs you can let go and how many noises you can make, but this weapon of your tongue is the worst that can happen to anybody. And many people say that, I can forgive, but I cannot forget, and that is true. It's not very easy. So don't say things which you really don't mean, and if you want to mean it, then it has to be done in a nice, positive way, not in an anger, and not with something that will be a problem for you.
So I think they are a blessing. The presence is a blessing in this congregation, and it reminds me of how when we were sharing with Sri Prabhu that in our Mumbai also, where we hail from, we have Grihastha Prabhu and Vishaka Mataji, Prabhu knows them, right? And as we were fledglingly growing as daughters of Krishna consciousness, they were like the sheltering parents of the entire congregation. Till this day they are. In fact, a few years back they were received the best Grihastha award in Iscon.
Oh yeah.
So that's how wonderful they are. Not only because they're Mafatlals, but because they're so kind and so genuine and so loving, caring. So they allow experience not just for their 3 children, but for anybody who would pick up a phone and say, Prabhu, I have a problem because we had just had a great fight, can you help us? And you go to them or they'll come to your house, or it is just 3 hours conversation with them, they will give you all the time they need and see that you are resolved and things are back to action. So I think every congregation needs certain examples of stable, happy, Krishna conscious life, and what we need to see there is there. And she is not being falsely modest that they didn't fight, and she's very honest, right? She said we had a fight with your life. So she's very honest, open about it. But how did they deal with that? How did they deal with the whole situation? So in case you have a problem tomorrow with your partners, you know where to take shelter. Please go and meet them, talk to them, and I'm sure they will take all the time they need. But do not allow the problem to go to such an extent that it threatens the fabric of your very relationship. Because once there is a fracture, a bone can unite, but relationships sometimes don't unite so easily. Right? So, if you find fractures in your relationship, if you feel threatened, something is really going seriously wrong, do not, at least that humility factor we are talking about, Mataji is gone, she's there, right? Humility factor. Devamara Swami, one of our leaders in Iscon, says humility means the willingness to take guidance. There's one definition he has coined for humility. So if you have a problem, be open, go to the Vaishnavas and say, Prabhu, can you help me? We had a serious difference like this. And we willing to, the main ego sometimes says, घर की बात घर में रहेगी, घर के बाहर नहीं रहेगी. पर ये घर की बात ही है, ये भी घर के लोग ही हैं. ये घर के बाहर नहीं जा रहे हैं, right? And you can put the confidence in them, and they are not going to tell on the Twitter or Facebook that these people have a problem. The whole world should know, right? They want to keep it themselves. So please take advantage of their association. And thank you all very much for being here. It's 8:45. I think we respect the fact that you have your schools and things tomorrow. But it has been wonderful being here and sharing some thoughts on this. And I hope you have gained something by coming here. Oh, please.
So we could just make and announce that if anybody wants, they can have prasadam and we can continue with question answer.
Yes, prasadam is ready. I think table is laid
So
up.
if anybody would like, they can.
Yeah.
So the prasadam can go on, and when you want, we can continue with question answer.
Okay. So please feel free to.
Mahaprasadam go.
Okay, Mahaprasadam.
Power here. But you can do Mahaprasadam on this.
Mahaprasade Govinde.